So, today, do you want to be more aware of your thoughts? Are they your thoughts? What's going on? What about your inner critic? Do you find that your internal dialogue sabotages the very things that you want to do? And even though I've covered this a little bit on some of the other videos, I wanted to dive in a lot deeper to help you in this because our mindsets, what we think and what's going on internally has a massive impact on us. So this is about whose thoughts are they? Unpacking your inner critic and reclaiming your voice. So the affirmation with this is, I am the author of my thoughts and the creator of my reality. And as I've said in previous videos, that I'm going to put the affirmation, the journal prompts, the song and the book recommendations on the bottom of this video. So here's one of the tarot cards, the Hermit. And as you can see, it's someone that's maybe in solitude, spending a lot of time on their own, by the moon. Different tarot cards come up looking differently. Right. Okay, that might be a better. It's because I'm using my phone. For some reason, some of my tarot cards have actually gone missing. I don't know why they are. So the Hermit invites you to turn inward, seek your own wisdom, and illuminate the truth within. The card reminds us that the thoughts we hear, especially the critical or doubtful ones, may not belong to the authentic self, but to old conditioning, past influences, or limiting beliefs. So the Hermit asks, are you willing to shine a light on these voices and reclaim your power? If you want to find out a lot more about limiting beliefs, go on the website, podcast David Bayer. He does an amazing podcast on that. He goes into it really deeply, and he's had an amazing journey in terms of his own past experiences that have helped him really understand this at a deep level. So I'd recommend that because I can go in deep, but I want for the 30-day program, we're entertaining and looking at some of these things, and I go in a bit deep with my own experience, but it's not a separate workshop. So today's focus is diving deep into your mind. Whose thoughts are you really hearing? Sounds quite weird if we've never thought about it like this before, but not everything in terms of the voices in our head belong to us. Sometimes it's other people that we've had conversations with, or for people who've grown up with narcissistic parents, they can have that really strong critical parent really embedded into their psyche. So whose thoughts are you really hearing? So like I said, we can have that inner critic, the anxious child, the demanding parent, or echoes of family members and cultural programming. These thoughts can feel automatic and true, but often they come from those external sources or old stories that we've absorbed. The first step in reclaiming your mental space, again, is awareness. Start noticing when you have thoughts that bring you down, doubt yourself, and make you feel stuck. That is a really key aspect of this. If you start monitoring your states and your moods, and you check in with yourself every so often, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I feel? If 10's amazing and 0 is not, how do I feel? And if you're feeling in a really good place and then your mood and energy starts to shift, is it because of something that you started thinking that is part of your old inherited story? And you can ask, whose voice is this? Is this my truth, or is it that story? Is it part of the outdated or old aspects of my identity? So those past experiences, family dynamics, and social conditioning plant seeds in our minds that grow into beliefs, shaping how we see ourselves in the world. And the people who capitalize on this to some degree are the sort of psychopaths, narcissist parents, narcissist relationships in our lives that purposely want to plant seeds and get you to doubt yourself, or even affect your energy and how you feel. This also goes on in domestic abuse relationships, where someone, if they're being really verbally abusive, will start putting you down and telling you that you're a rubbish cook and you're too fat, too stupid, those kind of things. But we can also have that inner dialogue from when we're kids, even if we're not in that current situation. So the more that you're able to create space for yourself, be relaxed, and start to generate feelings of peace and calm, the more you can start to see where your energy shifts and changes. And then you become more empowered, because you become the author in your own life, rather than just experiencing life and having mostly bad experiences. So through mindful awareness and curiosity, you begin to separate your authentic voice with those influences. And it can happen to people, say at work, somebody gets promoted, and you can have this whole internal dialogue about yourself and whether or not you're excluded, and whether or not they see what you can really do, and somebody else is seen and you're not seen. And you can have all this internal dialogue. And that's why in those occasions, it is really useful seeing a therapist, so you can start to work through what's actually going on for you on a much deeper level, so you can bring them out into the open. And sometimes that exercise alone is incredibly freeing. So this process empowers you to create your own thought patterns, like what do you want to believe? What can you believe now, aligned with your values and your higher self? It's a journey of reclaiming your mental sovereignty and crafting a mindset that supports growth, confidence, and peace. And this is actually an active piece of work with the intention of working with people on their thoughts, their ideas, and beliefs and values that they integrated on an extreme level in a cult or in a religious system that is restrictive and highly disciplined, or from an abusive relationship where somebody's been with that person for a couple of years and they've integrated a lot of those that commentary with the person that they was with. So and it always takes me back to Tina Turner, because while she's in the midst of that very violent, destructive relationship, she would find time out, and she started doing Buddhist chants and recited things over and over. And that process was what started to give her mental strength and the ability to disconnect from the everyday lived experience, because sometimes that is somebody's everyday lived experience, incredibly challenging. And I don't know if it was Nelson Mandela that spoke about this, that you can be in prison, but you're free. You can be free in your mind. And we can teach ourselves how to do that. So first of all, it's about noticing what's going through your mind, what kind of thoughts you're having. Are they your thoughts? Are they old thoughts? Do you believe them? And what do you prefer to think and feel instead? And this is quite strange for people if they're not used to it. And so if you practice it with one thing at a time, you can start to see the result of that fairly quickly. So practicing labeling thoughts as not my truth or old story. So when you notice negative self-talk, you're stupid, you're not fast, you can't do this, you're no good at this. Well, that could have been an experience. It could have been a truth about one particular thing that you did as a kid. But as kids, sometimes we take it as the whole truth. It means that thing about everything we do. So I wasn't great at maths. I just couldn't wrap my head around the lessons that we had. So for a while, I'm no good at maths, but I run a house and my own business and do my own taxes. So of course I must be fairly decent at maths. Am I an accountant level? No. Could I learn it? Yeah, potentially, because I've managed budgets in work. But if I'd have taken that belief of, no, I'm not good at maths, I can't do budgets, that would have seriously restricted me from having some of the senior roles that I had over time, in my career. So it's really important that we start thinking about those ideas and where they come from. And actually, are they useful? Does it help to see yourself in that way? No. And is it true? No. And if you feel bad about it, Abraham Hicks used to talk about, if we feel bad about something, it's usually that our soul, our inner self, isn't agreeing with this idea that we are sharing with ourselves. So the book recommendation again is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, and the song recommendation is Shake It Out by Florence and the Machine. And doing something like that is about releasing old burdens and embracing renewal. So the research on this is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, emphasizes recognizing and challenging distorted thoughts is key to reducing anxiety and depression. Mindfulness-based practices also cultivate this awareness of thought patterns and fostering emotional resilience. The crystal of the day is lapis lazuli, and that promotes self-awareness, clarity, truth-telling. And the other aspect of that is to create a safe space where you can sit and ponder without feeling under threat or disturbed or having your time sabotaged. Create that safe space so you can really start to reflect on what it is that's passing through your head. Because people, when you start to meditate, people say, I can't meditate, I keep thinking about things. Okay, notice what you're thinking. Is it derogatory thoughts? Are you running through the shopping list of what you've got coming up? Is it, excitement about dreams that you've been working on? And if you wake up before you go to bed, and if you wake up during the night, rather than fretting about not being able to sleep, lie there with your eyes closed and use your imagination to ponder on all of the exciting places you'd go and visit if you could, if money was no object. Because this also helps build up the mental muscle and gives our brain some new neural pathways while we are trying to disconnect from the ones that aren't working for us anymore. So, journal prompts that we're finishing on is, what recurring negative thought do I notice? Where might that have originated? How can I gently challenge these thoughts and invite my own voice to emerge? And what would my inner voice say if I listened with kindness and curiosity? So, I hope you've enjoyed this session and it's given you plenty of food for thought. Make sure you like and subscribe, leave a message below, send me an email, melgbp555@hotmail.com. There are links underneath all the videos of how to contact me if you want to have any private sessions or find out about any of the workshops that I have coming up. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you next time.